people want a space that's not work or school or home. They want somewhere where they can go and connect with people and just vibe.
Hey, on this episode, we did something different. I sat down with Allison and Anna on the Exit 5 team to talk about our event strategy, why events are so hot right now.
It's also a good place for people to come and just learn different things about B2B marketing. So along with like having a good place for people to hang out and just creating a community for people to get together, it's still a place that you can come and learn and grab great lessons to like use later on and stuff like that.
And we went behind the scenes to talk about Drive 2025, recapping our smash hit year 2 of our event Drive. We talk about what we're going to do in 2026. We talk about highlights, feedback, some behind the scenes lessons, learnings. If you want to get smarter about events for your company, or if you just want to hang out and listen to a fun episode talking about something a little different, not interviewing a CMO, just hanging out, talking about our strategy at Exit 5, a little bit more behind the scenes.
I feel like this year was different too, because we already kind of knew what we wanted. Like, especially last year, we got an NPS score of 88, and there was a ton of really great feedback. But I think the biggest piece of feedback was that people were like, don't change anything. This was perfect.
And hear from Allison and Anna and myself on why we do events and lessons and learnings from Drive 2025.
Whenever you go into an event, don't be afraid to be ridiculously annoying as well, because you're working with so many vendors and you're kind of depending on so many people to get this event right for you.
You're going to like this episode. Come hang out with me and the crew on the couch. Well, it was remote. And enjoy this episode behind the scenes of Drive 2025.
1, 2, 3, 4. Exit.
Okay, this is the first time that Allison, and is this the first time either of you have been on a podcast ever?
Yes.
Wow. Do you even listen to podcasts? Like, is podcast a Gen Z thing? Like, I feel like no, it's not. You don't listen to podcasts, do you?
I do every now and then. I don't have any like specific ones that I always go back to, but sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes. And I feel like you do.
Yeah, I really like Diary of a CEO. You know that.
I do, yeah.
Phrases too. But I have this one that I really like where this guy sits down with a bunch of really famous people and just talks about nothing. So I wouldn't say they're all educational.
I saw something about Diary of a CEO actually, and somebody was writing about how, and this is one of the challenges with like creating content at all, but all of his stuff has now completely gone to what the YouTube like algorithm wants. And so now it's all about, health and wellness, or like the COVID vaccine. I don't know. It's like all of that. The whole feed is just like, okay, that
I agree.
It's interesting to see a creator take off. Like I used to listen to his show 2 years ago and he would have more authored. Now it's like, it's everything about, health, science, kind of all of the, you know what I'm trying to articulate? Like
It's all about health. I used to listen to it a lot more a year ago, and I love the one that he did with the body language expert. Do you know who I'm talking about? Her name's Vanessa something. She's actually based in Austin.
Yes, I've seen her. Yeah.
But she's been on the show a couple times and she's amazing.
Okay, so Allison and Anna are here. We're going to talk about I'll introduce you both for everybody else. So we have Allison over here and we have Anna over here, and they are 2 of our awesome teammates at Exit 5. I don't like everybody, but you both are awesome. And I'm so lucky to work with you. And we've had a lot of fun working together already, and I hope that continues. And we wanted to do a podcast about doing events, because events have become a super hot topic in business and in marketing in general. I think there's a couple of trends that have led to the rise of events. One of them, even though we're going on, this being 5.75, almost 6 years ago now with COVID and, March of 2020, I think in our industry, like when I was, my previous 2 jobs prior to starting Exit 5, I was a CMO and I was a VP of marketing. I was traveling all the time, at least oftentimes once a month, at least once a quarter, traveling to big events. And then eventually got so burnt out on doing events. It was kind of awesome when everything shut down because I didn't have to go anywhere. And I think a lot of people felt that. And then 4 or 5 years later, you have so many people who now couldn't wait to get out of their house and needed an excuse to go travel and get out there for work. And so I think that's one big trend. And then I think the other one is everything that's happening with AI. I think we are all having this kind of existential crisis about life. And, I spent so much time talking to my stupid phone, talking to my AI assistant on my phone and wherever I'm at. And so I think we're putting a lot of emphasis in our personal lives on like getting out there and connecting with humans and connecting with real people. And so we're going on now, I would say this is year 3 of kind of taking Exit 5 seriously as a business. And this year we're doing 3 significant in-person events. We have a ton of virtual events. We're doing smaller ones. Like we're all going to New York next week to do a meetup there. And so events have become a huge part of our business. And this is the masterminds. This is the crew behind our events at Exit 5. And so we want to talk about everything we did and learned at Drive, which is our big annual event. And then we'll just talk about events in general. So I'm going to kick it to Anna first. So can you explain to people what Drive is? We did it last year. We did it this year. Maybe just try to fill everybody in, pretend like they might not know some of the details about the event.
Yeah. So for context, I came in last year in June of 2024. We had an idea, we had a venue, and we had no idea really what the event was going to be. I think Dan was like, we should make it a meetup. At least that's what I've heard from your end. No idea what this event was going to be, but we found this beautiful venue at a co-working space in Vermont. 200 tickets were sold before I even got to Exit 5, I think. So all that hard work was already done. Basically, we were just trying to plan this event. And kind of what it became is this annual event for the Exit 5 community. And it's not your typical, B2B conference. It's not very buttoned up. People aren't using corporate jargon and trying to impress each other and wearing buttoned up shirts. It's really just a place for people to come connect, meet each other offline. I think so many people are stuck in these like little corners of the internet, like LinkedIn and in the community, maybe even trading emails between each other. They've never met each other in person, never sat across the table from each other and drank a beer together, shared a laugh together. And Drive has kind of become this like learning environment, but it's also become this like third space where people get to be human together and talk about this world that we're all in. We all speak the same language, come together and kind of meet as friends and get to spend a week together in a beautiful place in Vermont.
It's pretty good. Allison, how would you, now that you've done year 2, how would you add to, let's explain what Drive is?
It's also a good place for people to come and just learn different things about B2B marketing. So while it is a place for everyone to come hang out and everything and have a good time and make friends with their internet friends in real life, it's still a place where you can learn like tactical things and go take back to your work team like on the next Monday when you get back from Drive. So along with like having a good place for people to hang out and just creating a community for people to get together, it's still a place that you can come and learn and grab great lessons to like use later on and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's got to be the hook. And I think Sylvia, who's one of our CMO members, said this, like, you have to come for in our case, it's marketing, which is the thing we're helping educate people on. You have to come for like the work thing. And then the reason you stay and enjoy it and want to come back is because of the people connections and the personal thing. I've seen there was a trend in the last probably 2 to 4 years in events in the B2B space. Everyone wanted to position their event. It's like a festival. It's like a party. And it's like, okay, that's cool. I understand what you're trying to do because you want people to be like, this is not like your traditional event at a, at the, Hilton Union Square or whatever. But I think if you're pitching this in a work context, people often have to justify that expense. The company has to pay for it, or they have to pay for it out of their pocket. And so you do need to lead. You need to lead with education. So, my perspective on Drive is one of the things that makes it special, and this is why I think it's hard to just kind of cold start and do an event. But one of the things that makes this event, or that made this event special, is that we had this online community. So people now like, how did you do Drive? How did it become so successful? And Anna kind of hit on some of this, but the reason we didn't just start this event because we wanted to like do an event and make a bunch of money on an event, because that's not how this works, right? We did this because we had this online community now dating back 3, 4, 5 years. If you go all the way back to me starting this thing on Patreon. And so literally at least once a year, there'd be someone in our community who say like, hey, can we do a meetup? When is everyone going to hang out? Can we do an event? And so finally last year, now with a real company, a real team, we said, okay, let's do an event. I was willing to do it, but I said, I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to travel for this event. Let's prove that it works. And so let's do the event here in Vermont where I live. It can be a home game. I drove 10 minutes down the road to this co-working space called Hula. I think I put a $1,500 deposit, maybe $2,500 deposit down on my credit card, and we made it real. I think one of the lessons in that was dates and deadlines are amazing forcing functions. And so like this going from we talked about this event and wanting to do it to like actually going there and putting a deposit down, even if it was $1 or $2,000 or whatever, that made it real. That was in March of 2024. We had to pick a date, and now we said, okay, this is happening September 10th. I mean, you two see it in your work, right? Like when we have specific deadlines, things can happen. And so we did this event, and then it turned out it wasn't just me being lazy and not wanting to travel, but there's a whole story behind starting Exit 5 and the connection to Vermont. And I think what we learned is that the Vermont piece of this actually became an interesting part of the brand, and it became part of the product. And so having the event in Vermont was not just about me not wanting to travel, but it has become such a part of this thing. And now we've made the decision to continue doing it in Vermont. So let's talk about this year. Where does the whole, if you could rewind back into this year, like where does the process start? So we have the venue, but then like, how do we go from, if we rewind back from September back into the spring, like when Allison, when do you feel like we started working on this? What are kind of the first steps to start to plan an event?
Building the landing page so we can sell tickets to the event. I think that's the first thing that I hopped on whenever I started. It was like a month after I started. I had just done the Boston event. And then I think the first thing I started on was building out the landing page so we could get tickets going. And then after that, I think we moved on to catering and then coordinating with Hula. So first step is definitely just build the landing page so you can get tickets out so you can start planning the other stuff.
I think too, it's like, okay, so last year, like backtracking even further, after Drive ended last year, it definitely was a different feeling from this year because we were like, oh my gosh, like we just started our first event. We need to do more of this. Like we need to keep bringing people together. So we went crazy. We all went to Austin, which is where I live, to do our
2 months
offsite
later.
team. Yeah. 2 months later. Yeah.
You were saying like we did this event. It felt different because we did this event last year, and then it led us to do more events. We had this feeling of like, people want this. We went and did another event in Austin. And I mentioned this in my talk to Drive at our event, but it was like that. It wasn't just Drive for me. It was like going to Austin and doing another event in November, that was only 100 people. It was like going to a different town, a different city, a different place, and feeling those same kind of, but that buzz and vibes again. It was like, oh, there's something bigger here. It's not just that Drive was special. There's clearly a huge appetite with people who want to like get out. Right.
Agree.
You talked about starting at the beginning. So the starting with the landing page, that does kind of seem counterintuitive to people. I think it's very easy to, like, when you're going to go do an event, you want to just jump into the weeds of, catering and badges and banners and everything. But is there a lesson almost in like starting with the landing page?
I feel like, yeah, because you kind of have to think about what you want the event to be, how you want it to go. And the landing page is going to tell the whole story of the event. So it kind of gives you a way to kind of map out everything before you really get into the weeds of banners and things like that. We didn't even get to banners until like a month before the event, I feel like. So it's not something that is like super important. You just need to figure out the baseline for the story. And I feel like that's where the lesson is building out the landing page, makes it more clear what you're looking for when you need to get into the weeds of planning for catering and things like that.
It's an amazing forcing function when you start with the marketing piece of this. And we see this, it comes up all the time in our community. I'm doing webinars, but I can't get people to go to them. I'm doing events, but nobody's showing up. I think one thing we've learned is like, it's the business lesson of like, begin with the end in mind. It's like, why go to this event? Who's speaking at this event? What's the hook? What's the pitch? What's the offer? What's the content? All of that stuff matters. I think when we think about events, it's you jump almost too far into the logistics of it when it's like, and we're doing this with our event that we're doing in March now. It's like, we need to start with the offer, start with the landing page. Where is the event? When is it happening? Why should someone go? Who's going? What are you going to learn? That is the thing and then when you announce it, you don't have to have all of the logistics figured out yet. So we announce it, you start selling tickets. Now it's like, okay, we've made a nice little bump in selling tickets here. Now it's time to actually go and like make sure we can deliver on this by working on the logistics. I think you always have to start with the marketing piece of this first.
I agree 100%.
Okay, what else? Anna, you have anything to add to that?
I mean, I feel like this year was different too because we already kind of knew what we wanted. Like, especially last year, we got an MPS score of 88, and there was a ton of really great feedback. But I think the biggest piece of feedback was that people were like, "Don't change anything. This was perfect."
Yeah.
And so we were like, "Okay, how do we make this better without changing too much?" So we already had a really good baseline. And I think like a lot of the little details and the stuff that we added came later. And so it was a lot easier, at least this year, to start with the landing page because like we already knew what we kind of wanted there. We already had pictures. We already knew what the vibe wanted to feel like. And so I don't know. And we gave ourselves a lot more time too. Like last year, I like I said before, I joined in June. That was like 3 months before the event and we had to do everything. So that also gave me a lot of good perspective because I was like, okay, I don't need to be sweating about these details until later.
There's a couple lessons in there, and I've learned this the hard way a bunch. It's basically any time in my career that I have tried to hire someone before having done the job first, it doesn't work. And so I think what we did perfectly this time around was like, you started in June, your full-time job became, actually there's a bunch of lessons here. You started in June, your full-time job became working on this event that was happening in September, right? So number one, I could get on my high horse and talk about this all the time. I think that ended up being like an amazing way to effectively onboard you into the team because it forced you to like do work right away. I think so often you join a company and you have a new employee, and Allison, like same thing with you. You joined in February and it was like, okay, great, go do the March event. And I'm just a huge believer now, and I think you two would agree with this, not to like gaslight you into, into saying my answer, but like, I think there's something to like, I think the whole like team bonding and building team chemistry, I think it's overrated to be like, Allison's super fun. She's great to hang out with. She's so funny. It's like, no, fuck that. We build team chemistry by like doing the work, and you learn how to work. You learn all of our systems. Oh, we use HubSpot for this. We use Zuddle for this. Okay, here's our designer. Here's how we do it in Slack. Here's how you send invoices. Like that was you being, each of you had to basically be forced on the job to like learn how to use all the tools instead of like, no one sat down with you and was like, here's how to do this and here's how to do that. It's like, you got to go figure this stuff out. Do you think that had an impact in like your ability to like get up to speed on working on this company?
100%. Like I feel like you have to just figure it out, and especially going into an event, you think that I never even really thought about all the like moving parts that would be a part of it. Like honestly, one of the hardest parts about planning an event is like wrangling all the external things, like the vendors, AV, catering, all the managers of the different venues. And so you're basically depending on a dozen different people to move things forward for this event. And so like the second that one person doesn't respond, or you don't really know what you're doing, like everything kind of stalls and you're sitting there like waiting on one of these external vendors to answer you and nothing else can really move forward. And I think like getting kind of thrown into that where it's like, not only am I learning how to work with this team, but I'm also learning to work with people outside of this team, like these vendors, also like the sponsors that we had at the event. It was like the perfect immersion into Exit 5.
Yeah. Allison, what about you? Do you feel like you kind of like got your stripes, you got your muscles kind of post drive?
Yeah, I think so. I think also whenever I first joined, I went straight into Boston planning. And I remember Anna had a place locked in and then they just completely ghosted her. And so we were both like on my first week scrambling to find a backup venue for it. And then like having to do that with her really immersed me into working with you guys and everything. So I definitely agree that being thrown into it and kind of being forced into doing all of that has made it made drive planning easier for me because I kind of already knew how to work with other people, like outside vendors, like Anna was talking about, and then also just the logistics of everything. So yeah, I definitely agree.
I got a job once when I was, how old was I? Maybe 27. And it was a big company. And no joke, like I didn't do shit for the first 3 months, 90 days at the company. And I'm such like a type A, like I got to be doing something. You know how I am, like I got to do something. It was like week 1, you go to all these onboarding classes, and then like you get a tour of the building, and then you literally, I'd be messaging my boss like, what can I do? What can I do? He's like, in time. And it's like, I think that's what's cool about having this small team and small company. And man, even if I was at a bigger company, I'd want to know how you can create that, because I think there's just something so valuable about getting in there and being able to do the work together and figure that stuff out. And so then the other lesson was, because Anna joined last year and did the event, from June to September, now we'd basically proven that out. Okay, this is definitely needs to be somebody's full-time job. Then when we hire Allison, we can feel more confident about like, what does this job looks like? Anna can now kind of run in parallel with you, and you both kind of tackled this event together because we have knowledge. I've made the mistake before in being like, we need an SEO person, hire an SEO person. Then we hire an SEO person and we failed. And it's like, well, why did we fail? It's because we should have just found a way to do that in-house first for 3 months. Then we can find somebody to do that full time and then scale up. And then I think the other thing about a couple other details on the event that I think are worth mentioning. I think that we now live in a world where like the venue, the whole vibe, the venue, the why for going really matters. And if I were you listening to this, thinking about planning an event, like I would over index on that because it happened literally unintentionally. I was like, I don't want to travel. I don't want to do an event far away. I think we could sell 200 tickets. I think people would come up and go. And now, can you believe, like, we were actually having a conversation this summer. We were like, we're probably going to move the event to Boston because we need more space. Can you imagine what a mistake that would have been, by the way, if we had done that? Because don't you feel like this event being in Vermont is such a part of the brand of Drive now, right? And so like the more you can build that in, like, I don't know, yeah, we're going to do a sales retreat in Tulum. You have to find ways. I think that the packaging, that you have to really think of this thing as a product. And I think that is one thing we've learned from these last 2 years. And now we're making an incredible investment in this. We're going to spend more on this event in 2026 than we spent on the entire company payroll and everybody's stuff included in the prior year just to do this event this year. But that's because we feel really good about like doubling down on this place in Vermont, trying to make it really special. I think that's a huge learning. Another learning was people don't want to have really long sessions where they're sitting in their seats for a long time. And so we want to have education, but one unintentional thing that we learned was like we had this idea of doing breakout groups where we paired everybody. Basically, everyone that bought a ticket, you then fill out a form, you fill out some questions, and we match you with people. And those breakout groups become amazing because we don't need speakers for that. We don't need stage space for that. We do, we block off an hour and we say, okay, group one, if you have this, red sticker, you're all going to go over here and you're going to hang out. And it's an amazing way to like mix and mingle and get people to hang out. And I used to think that so much of the event, from the hours of 9 to 5 need to be programming. But we learned that these breakouts became such a part of the event. And this year we decided to double down. We read the feedback. We decided to double down on that and do more. Can you, Allison, we talk about like the decision to do excursions into the event this year? Let's talk a little bit like just how light the programming was. There wasn't so many speakers, but so much of the event was these breakouts and excursions.
Yeah. I feel like I kind of came on and you guys had the idea already of doing excursions. And then we were kind of like, what excursions would we do? I think the excursions were a great addition. I didn't go to Drive last year.
Anna, do you remember how that came up? Did we just have that?
Yeah, kind of. Like, I feel like we did an NPS survey at the end of Drive last year and everyone was like, we want to get out of the conference room, even though it's beautiful. But like the biggest piece of feedback was, it sounds dumb, but like the vibe, like people loved it because of the vibe. And I think the vibe was because we were in this beautiful venue and we were giving people these spaces to connect as humans and like give them a space where they actually feel like they belonged. And a lot of those moments happen outside of the conference room. And so that's why we wanted to continue to interest this idea of like the third space. And that's kind of what these excursions are, like these spaces that are not the conference room where like you're learning and not work, but these spaces where you can connect with these people in your world outside of that.
The third
and
space. Did you come up with that? Is that a thing? The third space?
I did not come up with it. I've seen it online because I feel like a lot of people talk about wanting more of that. Like I see it all the time online, especially like with Gen Z. People want a space that's not work or school or home.
That's why
they want somewhere where they can go and connect with people and just vibe. Yeah, it is. It's kind of like, it's exactly like that. And that's what people wanted more of. And so that's what led us to go play pickleball together. It's what led us to go on a boat together at sunset.
Yeah. List out the excursions that we did.
Yeah, we did pickleball, a hike, which actually was just a casual walk along the water. Some people were a little disappointed that it wasn't a hike, but
were they? Was that in the feedback?
There were a couple people that were like, I brought my hiking shoes. Like I thought we were going to go up a mountain.
That was my excursion. I led that group, and we were standing in the hotel lobby, and you should have seen some of the gear and the way people were dressed and the layers and everything that they had. And I was like, oh man, I got to tell these people, like, go back. So I was like, all right, everybody listen up. This is not a hike. It's a nice walk. All that gear you have, like this one lady had like a full camelback. I'm like, you don't need any of that. Go put it back in your room and then come back. We did pickleball, this nice walk. There was a bike ride, right? Yoga. Did you do yoga?
I did yoga. Yeah. We did it on the waterfront. It was beautiful.
And I also found that was a great way to start the day. Like we on the day that we did the excursions, we did them in the morning, and we started the event at noon. So everybody had time to hang out. And I think one of the most unexpected and awesome parts was that morning, not just the excursions, but just all these people were around Burlington where we were doing this event in Vermont. And like, I did this walk with people, and then I'm walking back to my car and I see a group of 4 guys, and I'm like, where are you guys going? They're like, oh, we're going to breakfast. I'm like, come on, get in. I took them in my car, complete strangers. Obviously we knew them through Exit 5. I'm like, I got a spot for you. I live here. I'll take you. I took them down to this place called August 1st. We had breakfast there, and that turned into like this amazing little bond. Then I'm driving back on the way back, and I saw Tass and Sahil. And I think what I'm excited about next year is we're doing this event at this resort in Stowe, Vermont, and everyone's going to be staying on site. And I think that's going to do it. That's going to have a huge boost in just like the ability to connect people at all. It doesn't have to just be like in a breakout group. People can be hanging out by the pool, in the lobby, getting a coffee, having time for these spontaneous connections. Because Anna mentioned this third space, and I think there's something really important here from a business standpoint, if you can think about it, which is all of our identities as humans are tied so much into what we do for work, right? You meet somebody, you go to a party, the very first thing, oh, hey, I'm Allison. Very first thing they ask you is like, oh, what do you do for work? And I think what we've learned with Exit 5 is like people who work in marketing, that is a huge part of their identity. And so all of our programming doesn't always have to be about making you a smarter marketer. That's maybe what gets you in the room. But then after that, you connect, and I see someone, it's like, oh yeah, we saw somebody posted this, this woman, Lindsay, she posted like, I met so-and-so through Exit 5. Turns out we live in the same town in Pennsylvania. Our kids are the same age, and we now go to soccer together, and they went for a walk in their hometown. It's like, that's the power of community, and that's what makes events really cool. And I'm saying this because yes, our world is marketing, but why couldn't you do this in HR, in finance, in cybersecurity, in plumbing? I don't know. I think you could apply this model to every single industry. I think that's what made this really cool.
I agree. For me, like, I feel like that's huge too, because I don't really have any friends outside of work who really understand what I do. And whenever I try to explain, it's like, there's just so much to explain. Like, I'll say what a CRM is, or like what HubSpot is, and it just like goes completely over their heads. But in this room, I feel like in this room at Drive, you don't really have to explain all that. Everyone like really gets it. And whether you're like a CMO or you're someone like me who's very early on in your career, it doesn't really matter, because you belong, because everyone speaks the same language. And that's why people keep coming back.
Going off of like what a CRM is and stuff like that, it's just nice to be able to have a conversation without having to take 5 minutes to explain what a CRM is.
Explain the backstory. Yeah.
Why is that the
Like,
thing?
even just
Why
talking.
is that the thing? Like we're all bonded because we're like cool people, and we know what a CRM is. Like, I'm not going to ask you what a CRM is. No, and then my favorite thing was like people that didn't come last year, because obviously V1, like not everyone's going to take the V1, right? So people that didn't come last year, but that had FOMO from all the pictures and everything being posted online, who came this year and then had an amazing time, like that filled my bucket in the best way. I can think of a bunch of people, but I'll think of Eddie because he's a kind person. And Eddie, he's like gave me a big hug on the boat. He's like, this is so amazing. I had so much fun. Like, I'm gonna come back next year. I didn't come last year because of whatever reason. Like, that's the stuff that it's just like, I think we were sitting at dinner on the boat that night, and I said this all to you, and I was just on an unbelievable high. But I was like, the event was a reminder that like for all the marketing tricks and tactics and things you can do in the world, like, do you want to know what actually the best marketing thing is? It's like to have a damn good product. Because if you obsess over the product and you have an awesome experience, whether you sell seltzer or you go to an event, like that is the best thing. People are going to take pictures. They're going to tell your friends. We're going to have an easier time selling tickets in year 3 because people that went in year 2, and we sold tickets in year 2 because of the people that went in year 1. And so it makes that stuff worth obsessing over. And I think something that you two are great at is sweating that stuff. Like what's on the cocktail napkins? Like I was talking to Dan and I was like, man, some guy came up to me and told me that like he was pumped because we had iced coffee and like most conferences didn't have iced coffee. And then it turned out like that was a specific thing that we asked for because we knew that. There was one lady who was upset about the oat milk, which is that's a whole other situation. We'll save that for the after hours podcast. But all those things matter. And you know, the how the sandwiches matters, like all of those details add up to have an awesome time. It helped that the weather was amazing. But if you're listening to this, like I would push you to try to step outside of the box of doing a traditional conference. I think you need some hook to get people there to learn, because a lot of the people in our audience and in your audience are going to justify this ticket. They're going to need to ask their boss to pay for this ticket. The average person is not going to spend $1,000 or whatever the cost is just, you know, on their own to go to this event. They're going to have to pitch it to their boss. They're going to say, hey, I'm going to learn. I'm going to make all these connections. So how can you work backwards from that? And then I think just we all have this lens. I don't know if this is for me being like scarred from just traveling for work and being so miserable all the time, but I think just really making it, being conscious of like, it's a big ask for me in my mind to ask somebody to buy a ticket to our event and then spend 2.5, 3, or even 4 days there, leaving their home and traveling and leaving their family and getting out of their routine. And so, damn, if someone's going to give you that level of commitment, like you got to deliver for them. And I think it's good to have those expectations for yourself. And I think one of the number one marketing things I've learned is like, I try to never do things that I wouldn't want. It's like I'm teaching my kids, like what was the golden rule? Like treat others how you want to be treated. It's like, would I go to this webinar? Would I listen to this podcast? If I got this email from Allison, like would I open it or would I instantly delete it? And how do we put that in your brain for like this event experience? Like if this was my first time here, would this be awesome? I think that's for all of the growth hacks in the world. That's such an important. Okay, I have a bunch of like rapid fire questions on this, and then we'll wrap up. Let's go, Allison. We'll just go. We'll start with Allison. We'll go to Anna. We'll alternate. Couple sentence answers on each of those things. Each of these things. You don't have to spend a lot of time on it. What was your biggest learning from Drive 2025?
Document everything.
What does that mean?
In writing.
Say more. You can say it. You can
If
share. This
you're,
is a safe space. Only a couple thousand
talking with
people are going to
vendors.
listen to this. It's okay.
Talking with vendors and things, just if you ever have phone calls with them, make sure that you have it in writing after you talk with them, and document everything in writing is basically the main learning that I have.
Because what happened? You can tell a story.
Okay, the boat. We had the contract set for the wrong day.
Wait,
and over the phone.
set the stage. Like explain this for someone who doesn't know that we had this plan. We wanted to do a boat cruise. Like one of the nights there was an after party and it was a boat cruise, right?
Yeah, so we had an after party set up and it was going to be on Wednesday, which is, technically that's the first day. So it wasn't like an after party, it was like a mid party, I guess you could say. And we were going to go on this boat on Lake Champlain and have drinks, music, food, all of that good stuff. And when we originally booked, we had it set for Thursday because we thought we were going to do it that day. And then we decided to move it back one day so we could have more people join us because a lot of people might be leaving on Thursday. At some point during the planning process, so we told them that we wanted to change it to Wednesday, and it got lost in translation and it never got switched over. And we had the contract set for Thursday still. And we're on the phone with the people in charge of the boat 2 hours before we're supposed to be on the boat. And they're talking to Anna, and they said that they are like ready to see us tomorrow or something like that. And Anna was like, it's supposed to be tonight. And then that's how we figured out that we had the wrong date, and we had to do a full 180 and do basically, as Anna said, like 6 months of planning and like less than an hour basically. So we had to scramble. Anna was on the phone, I was on the phone, and everything.
In a small city with like not the most options in the world.
Yeah, it worked out great
Literally.
though. Yeah, we ended up at a brewery instead, and then we just did the boat cruise the next day, and everything turned out completely fine. People really enjoyed the brewery, I think, too. It was still just, as Anna has said before, it was a third space for people to go and hang out and have a good time after they've been in sessions all day.
So this was the big kind of fuck up, right? And I wouldn't even say it's like we fuck something up. I just think I think what we've learned now, and something will go wrong. It's a fact. it's just, you don't know what it's going to be. And I remember saying this, like, when Leah and I were getting married, someone told us, like, you do all this planning, like something's going to go wrong. It could be a small thing, it could be a big thing. And it was like the DJ totaled his car on the way up, and so we had no DJ. And he called her while she was getting her hair done. Luckily, her husband is just a phenomenal music knower, and I'm the guy you want. No, and so I just, okay, I taken that. Now this is essentially like planning a wedding, the same thing. So there is going to be something that goes wrong. What contingencies do you have? How does your team handle it? I think that was an awesome. I'm so glad that happened, because I think we learned a lot about each other. The way you all handled that was amazing. So that was the big fuck up. But your lesson from that is, like, everything needs to be in writing and everything needs to be double, triple confirmed. Good one. Anna, you got a lesson?
Yeah, I think for me, it's the event isn't over whenever it ends. Like, I think one thing that we maybe neglect sometimes is like, oh, wait, even though it's over on Thursday, we actually have so much left to do, like just the post-event distribution. Like, we have all this content. People are waiting on the slides. People are waiting on notes, the recordings. Sponsors are waiting on recaps from the event. And I think, like, especially last year, we were like, oh my gosh, this is like, we did this event. Yay, like, we're done now. And this year, we didn't really totally think all of that through. And so I think for me, that's a big learning, like, going into it is, that's a whole nother thing in itself, is just the strategy following the event.
Or like when we got off the boat, I was so ready to go home, and you guys were like, we have to go clean
So
up
exhausted.
right now. I was like, are you kidding me? So that's a really good one. And I'm sharing this because the audience for this is all people who work in marketing. And so you'll appreciate this, but like, that's a huge lesson, is that the follow-up, whether it's your own webinar or you're doing something with sponsors or you're doing an event, that matters so much. I just talked to last week, and I shared these notes with, I did a podcast with Sydney Sloan, who's a CMO G2, and she has a background in events. And she's like, oh yeah, I learned, she's a gangster. She's like, no, I learned the hard way. She's like, we need to list, like, if we sponsor an event, like, I need to list that night, and the emails are going out that night. And I'm like, whoa, that's next level. And so there are all these things that, like, the long tail of an event is like, there's probably a couple days after that where there's lots of deliverables. But it's not even just a lesson in the deliverables. I think it's like back to, like, begin with the end in mind, right? Especially if you have sponsors, you have follow up. Like, those are all key steps into doing this thing. You got to have that stuff planned out. And we learn every year. Like, last year we had the emails and everything scheduled, and that's great. And we're just learning there's more. I think one of the good things that we do, though, that we learned immediately is to send out we measure NPS, and we send out the feedback. We send out a feedback survey immediately after every event. And I think that feedback is amazing. It gives you some way to quantify the event. I learned this from Mike Volpe, who was a CMO at HubSpot. And he's like, yeah, we measure events not just on tickets sold, but on NPS, like the quality of the product, the same way you'd measure your employee NPS or your product NPS. Like, how was the product? And we have a really amazing product based on the 2 NPS scores from this year, but it gives us some benchmark. We do it on our smaller events too, because we want to know. The feedback thing is kind of tough, because what's so funny is we compared all the feedback from last year to this year, and, like, humans, we just contradict ourselves all the time. Like, we made changes that people asked for last year in this year, and then some people left feedback that they wanted, like, the opposite of what they said the year before. And so I think that's how humans are. And I think it's on you as the creators of a product or event to just kind of find what you want to do and have a strong opinion on that, and not take everybody's feedback as, like, inputs, but just be able to use it as data to help you guide and adjust things. It's like, yeah. And I think, one of the things that I appreciate about you both is, like, yeah, you have strong opinions. You're like, no, that's how it is. Sorry. That's how we're doing it. Somebody has to decide. Okay. How would you, you can only pick one, or I'll give you one or two, but someone out here who is doing events, audience and marketing doing events, give me one or two unexpected lessons, or something you feel like now, other than double check all the contracts or whatever. What's a lesson you'd share with someone that wants to go and do an event, if you could provide any wisdom?
I think 2.
You got 2?
I have 2.
Okay.
1, stay ridiculously organized, like, going back to what Allison said, like, literally write everything down, have a master spreadsheet with everything. One big thing that we did is we had weekly meetings. It was actually ended up being 2 meetings a week. We had 1 meeting about drive and 1 about events. And we just needed that checkpoint every week. And I think that really helped us level up this year because we were able to literally just like go through each line item and see what needed to get done and delegate those tasks. So staying ridiculously organized and on top of that, delegating is super important. And then I think the second learning is like, whenever you go into an event, don't be afraid to be ridiculously annoying as well, because you're working with so many vendors and you're kind of depending on so many people to get this event right for you. We're also paying them. So I think
You need to be
you
You
have
need to be
every right to
bridezilla.
follow
Like
up.
it's like bridezilla. Like
Yes.
you need to. It's not. You're not being a jerk, but like this is part of the game, and you need to be like super. You need like super alpha energy during those 2 days. Allison, what do you got?
This is kind of a small one, but no matter how many emails you send and how many times you communicate with people are still going to ask questions all the time.
Oh, really?
So,
What a surprise. What a surprise for all of the people out there. Man, we get so much criticism and feedback sometimes. Like, you all don't read the damn email. You don't read it.
so have a good plan for your emails. I think that, like I said, this is kind of a niche one, but whenever I was in the beginning parts of planning for Drive, I sat down and I thought about every email that we needed to send. And I started from the back and then I worked to the front. So what was the very last email that we needed to send and what was the very first email and everything in between. And I think about it from an attendee perspective. So like if you're going to this event, what are the questions that you are going to ask? And I'm an anxious traveler. I'm an anxious person. So thinking about all of the things that would make me anxious and like what I would want to know were things that I would put into the email. So then someone didn't have to think about, oh, what time do I need to be at this place? They already had it. So that was a really good thing too. I think that you should think about is just one, no matter how many times you communicate, people are still going to ask questions, but just try to have it all ready to go for them. And then another thing that I did that Dave, you actually suggested was just making a big doc that we were able to give to everyone that had every bit of information that we had for like shuttle times and the agenda and everything. So that way, if people do ask questions, you can say, hey, everything is in this doc. Just go read through it really quick.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Man, that's one of the hardest things about doing these events is just like, there's no way everyone's going to know. And then you have, this is no joke. I was emceeing the event, hosting the event, right? And I would get off the stage and I'm like, I go in the bathroom, like, I had to pee real quick. And I sneak into the bathroom and like, I'm washing my hands and some guy's like, hey, do you know where the forks are? I'm like, I don't know, dude. Am I the guy you got to ask for this? Like, or like, what's the Wi-Fi password? Or there's just so many things. And I don't know how to solve that other than like, I'd love we just build a custom app and it's just an AI and it just answers all the questions. But yeah, that's a great marketing skill, honestly, is to just think about the questions people are going to have. And I think, is that empathy? Is that the right way to use that word? Empathy? Like you is it? No, like you think about the things you would want or the things that make you anxious, like even just the day, like, yeah, it's going to be 40 degrees in the morning. Like you should bring a jacket.
Mm-hmm. Just little things like that.
Yeah.
But also what Anna said too, because both of hers were good too.
They were good. Favorite moment?
Going to the dumpsters.
Yeah, that was it at the end. Yeah. Just hucking all that shit in the trash.
Yeah.
Did that feel like a moment? Like we should have all like smoked a cigarette or something and like
yeah, kind of. And then when we were trying to throw things into the dumpster and everything was just flying back on us. That's off the ground and stuff.
So done.
I got home that night. You all like, I lived here, right? You guys are in your hotel rooms and I got home that night. It was like 10:30 at night. And the dog comes running downstairs and Leah's like, hello? I'm like, I just need a minute. And I just laid on my living room floor for just an hour. I didn't go to sleep. I just laid there in complete silence. And my dog just cuddled up next to me. And then I washed my hands for like 30 minutes. Anna, do you have a favorite moment?
Honestly, I liked going to the brewery. Even though it was a curveball, I think we felt like so good about it because we had that like hour where the three of us were all huddled up in the corner. We're like, okay, what are we going to do? We figured it out. We all walked over to the brewery. It was like a perfect sunset. Everyone was there getting food, getting drinks. And it just ended up being like the perfect night. And everyone came up and complimented us. Like, you handled that so well. We were like, thank God.
I know. It's a great brand
the
play,
tequila
actually.
shot that we took whenever we got there.
That was great. That was team bonding to see you all take a tequila shot together. Do you have a funniest moment? Like, that's a favorite moment. Can you think of something that like genuinely made you laugh about how ridiculous or silly something was?
Yes. Well, one thing, I don't even know if I told you guys about this, but whenever we were at the brewery that night, Vector was doing a dinner. And so I was wandering around the brewery like a crazy person trying to find all these people. And I was looking down at my phone while I was walking, and there was like a glass door that I was supposed to be walking out of, and it was halfway closed, and I completely ran into it. And like everyone looked at me and started laughing, but I think it was only like 10 people. But it was really embarrassing, but also really funny.
And
Very,
it,
very
Things
good
like that, like
representation of the
the
day.
brewery, and breakfast and lunch. There's something about just everybody kind of mingling together, like just sitting with random people and like, having a burger or having lunch and just being there together, I think was an amazing part of that. And that's the hard part. One of the nice things about doing this event in Vermont, like we had this whole bar. We maybe spent like $4,600. I got the bit, like on the credit card to like host that, and it's just like, oh, that was kind of that was a win. I'm trying to think any funny moments.
when we went back on the last day to go stack all of the chairs on the lawn, I was laughing really hard at how we were all competing to see how many people could carry as many chairs as
Yeah, just
possible.
a bunch of super type A people ready to get the
Yeah.
hell out of there. If I could have carried 100 chairs at once, I would have done it that night. Yeah.
So delusional at that point.
Delusional. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the little improv moments too. Like, I think not being so damn serious. Maybe that's part of our brand. I don't know how other companies in this world are, but I think it's just a part of our brand is to be very real and authentic about things. And so I think like that started organically, like in year one. Like I wasn't supposed to have the mic and like make jokes, but I just did. And then we have the crowd interaction, and like I think that plays out. And then like when something goes wrong, everyone's not like boo, because it doesn't feel like this like super highly polished scripted thing. It's like I think I like our brand. It's like this balance between like we have our shit together and things are really professional, but there's also this level of like approachability and authenticity. So like if something goes wrong, we're like, yeah, we're working on it. We're gonna go over here, and everything's gonna work out just fine.
Yeah, I think a big part of that, like just to go on a tangent, it comes from like your welcome. Like you get up on stage instead of this like stiff buttoned up welcome. You get up there, you tell some Vermont facts, you show a couple pictures of the team and your family, and like share the story of Exit 5. And I think it immediately sets this like very real, genuine tone, and people like see us as people and not just the brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I like.
Yeah, I agree.
I was debating on giving a talk on the state of B2B marketing, but I decided to not do it. Okay. Random shout out time. Do you want to give a shout out to 1, 2, 3, 7 people that you randomly met for the first time and like enjoyed hanging out with at Drive? I feel like that's always a part for me. I have people in my head that I can remember, but I'll kick us off. I think a couple of them for me were number one is Diane Weirdu. She came in from Barcelona, amazing energy. She was like a big energy part of our event from like the first night at dinner. Harry Dry being there, getting to hang out with him. We had no idea if Harry was going to show up. I messaged him on Twitter over the summer, asked him to speak. He messaged us, like he ghosted us for like 6 months. Saturday morning before the event, like DM'd me to tell me that he sent Allison his slides, bought his ticket. That was amazing. And then my shout out was to all you. I think we all get to hang out in a more like intimate and authentic way, like behind the scenes in the room. It's really fun to sometimes, we're humans too. We gossip, and we just like the same way people gossip and talk shit about us. We gossip and we talk shit about you, and we do it backstage at the events. Do you have a couple people you want to shout out?
First, I want to shout out Anna, because I wouldn't have been able to do any of the stuff that I did without her paving the way from year one. And then obviously E5 team, love you guys. And then just like random people that I met, Rachel Weeks, I met her. She was super sweet.
She's
I met her
super
at the
nice. She's so funny. She came up to me and she's like, do you know Sarah? And I'm like, no, Sarah who? She's like, I met her last year. We bonded, but I haven't seen her yet. Can you find her for me? And like all the rest of it, I was like, did you find her? She's amazing. She's a really nice person.
Yeah. And then Shelby from Hawaii. I can't remember her last name, but she was awesome to talk to. The fact that she came all the way from Hawaii was insane. Who else did I meet? Harry Dry was super nice. Jen Allen Newth was super nice. All of our speakers I loved. They were all great.
That's a big thing for me. Like when speakers are actually nice people. Like I don't like when people like big time you for some reason. Like I think it's really cool when they become part of the event.
Yeah. And then I think my last person was Jess Cook from Vector. I talked to her for a while on Thursday night after we went out for a little bit, and she's super sweet. Yeah.
I'll shout out Chelsea too. Chelsea's my girl now. I
And
appreciate
Chelsea.
that. Yeah, I like all her
Yeah.
photos on it. I
Congrats.
like all her stories and all her photos on Instagram now because I feel like she's a good person. I like that.
I need to go have dinner with her. I haven't seen her since Drive, which is so funny because we live in the same place, like 10 minutes away from each other.
Go hang out. Anna, you got somebody? You shout him out?
Yes. Obviously, Exit 5 team, I won't repeat everyone. Allison, MVP of all. Customer IO team, Molly and Naomi are both awesome. Molly lives near Austin, so it's always fun to see her again. And Naomi and I played a really great game of pickleball together.
Is Naomi
shout
does
out.
Naomi have red hair?
Yes.
I stole her code for Sora too. Shout out to you, Naomi. Thank you for that. That's cool. It's good. You need outside of work interactions like that to like really feel like you get to know somebody. Okay, who else?
Okay, last shout out. This girl, I can't remember what her company was called, but she works for this like church software. Her name was Emily. She was just super interested and she let me ramble about the event for a long time. And I appreciate
I like
for that.
I like that.
She was a really good listener.
Okay, shout outs. I wanted to give people shout outs. Somebody that I also always enjoy seeing around is Natalie Taylor. Good energy, good vibes. She's a good person. Sylvia Lepoidovin, she was on our panel. I had a great conversation with her eating a burger, and I was like, I'm sorry, I'm so hungry right now. I literally have not eaten in 12 hours. Like, I want to talk to you, but I also like, and I feel so awkward. Like I'm the only person eating, and I'm just like devouring this burger, like right in front of her. The sauce is like dripping down my face. She's great. Trinity, everybody was great, man. Fuck it. Shout out to everybody.
Yeah.
Everyone. Agree.
Everyone. Yeah.
Shout out to everyone. So look, this was a Exit 5 hang out with the Exit 5 events team. I'm Dave. That's Anna. That's Allison. I wanted to just record a fun, like no agenda, candid conversation with them behind the scenes because I want you to hear their voices more and just a little bit behind the scenes on Drive. So if you listen to this episode, I want you to email us hi@exit5.com. I would love to do or be happy to do more like behind the scenes type of stuff, not just doing interviews with people. I need to make an effort. I need to make more of it. I'm going to put this video on my YouTube channel and we're going to start to like really invest and try to make something happen there. I don't know what's going to happen, but I would love to do more behind the scenes stuff. We can talk more about what's upcoming with our events. If you listen to this episode, we do need to shout out. We're also going to run this on the CMO podcast to get the audience over there. But you two, there's a lot of people who listen to our podcast. Like it seems like we're just talking right now, but in a couple of weeks, hopefully not sooner than that. This is my recency bias. Anytime I'm recording a podcast, I'm like, we need to move the queue. We need to jump the queue. This one needs to go out now. Thanks for listening to this. Go find Allison and Anna on LinkedIn. Connect with them, send them a message. If you try to poach them, I will know. They will send me a screenshot and I will know. So just beware of that, but that's all good. It's a compliment to the work that they do and the type of people that they are. So thanks for listening. Send us a note if you want us to do more of this and we'll catch you on another episode.